right. Our next guest always has his third eye open and also a head of lettuce. Like that lettuce, your hair is incredible, man. Like you pull it back and you've got some serious flow. Yeah.
Top half of this screen is a lot of jealousy up here, man.
We were joking. Yeah. My wife and I were actually joking about it last night because I've never had long hair ever in my life up until this last year. And when I was like 19, I used to literally go out in my backyard with like a buzzer with the number 2 and just like shave my head because I was a basketball player. All I cared about was playing basketball. And so now I'm learning what it's like to have long hair.
We call that the Jada kiss. When it's like, oh, you were bald by choice. You just chose to shave it all off. You never had to do it on purpose.
But thanks for having me on, guys. Yeah,
you couldn't do the headband you had a coach who made you. Yeah, the Max.
No,
Strus.
I just was lazy. I don't know. I just was so. I just had no view of the bigger picture. It was like I wore my Jordan shorts and my T-shirts every day, and I just went to the gym and played basketball. That was literally like all I did. Like it was weird. Actually, I remember I had a girlfriend when I was 21 who finally was like, "Hey, you don't have to do the 2 on the entire head. You could do it like on the sides and then like let it go a little bit up top."
You can have like, what? She introduced you to the concept of.
Oh man, yeah.
See, like I in high school, I had long hair in high school, which a lot of people don't know this about me. I didn't actually cut my hair until I was a sophomore in college, and my wife was dating me when I had long hair, and I'll send this picture out to the guys and they're like, that's not you. That can't possibly you. So I'm the opposite. I had long hair. And then when I show people those photos, they don't think it's me. They think it's been photoshopped. We have entered this new place in the world where it's like, I know that that's photoshopped or Grok did it or some chat GPT agent figured that out. But you're doing the opposite thing. You're like, you know what? I can grow out my hair and I might as well do it now before I lose it. Right?
Yeah, it's funny. Every once in a while, the Volume will post a promo for like one of our live shows or something, and it's this shot from like the first Volume party when I first got hired, and I still was rocking the fade, and I just don't even recognize the person I see. It's crazy.
All right, so you're doing this. We're catching you on the same day as your wife's birthday, and you texted me back and you said, "Hey, I've got maybe a small window when my wife is going out for errands and I can knock this out." So, hey, happy birthday to your better half. And thank you for allowing Jason to share his wisdom. Does she know that you're doing this on the errands or are you kind of sneaking this in?
Yeah, no, she recommended it. So like we had planned on going to get some sushi lunch, just went to go get some sushi. It was fantastic, but she is picking up my niece from school. So it's something that she literally had to do. And I had already planned on taking some downtime around that time anyway. So this is perfect.
Amazing. So thank you for doing that. Hey, we got to talk about the Warriors because you just did a video up on your YouTube. It's the Hoops Tonight show by Jason Timpf. I listened to you on the House of Strauss. You're fantastic and you do great analysis, and you called the Stephen Curry performance in game 1 a master class. And we've seen some unbelievable outings from Stephen Curry. What stuck out to you in this particular game and why you put it on the same bar as some of the greats of Stephen Curry?
So I thought it was just the intelligent way that he attacked. Like, we think of the crazy shots, and there were a few of them. There were 4 or 5 last night that were just absolutely preposterous. But you're not going to get to an efficient 30 unless you find ways to generate easy offense. And that's like just finding every small opportunity to shed Amen Thompson in some way, shape, or form. So we saw an assortment of things. We saw early screening actions in the possession to get Jalen Green switched on to Steph. Jalen Green's just nowhere near as disciplined as a defender. They ran multiple times in the first shift, like an action where they would flow pods with Steph right into a screen with Moody. So they get Jalen Green and Şengün in the action, and they got Steph a couple clean looks on those. He actually missed those ones early in the game, but they were clean looks. He got free on back cuts a few times. But there was a really fun one where he like shoved Amen Thompson like he was going to come off the screen. And then right after he shoved him, then he back cut. And Amen just went the opposite direction and he was clean at the basket. Transition pushes. He got several transition cross matches that way. They got a easy reverse layup for Jimmy Butler on an action where he pushed in transition and Gary Payton got picked up by Şengün, and they immediately went to pick and roll because they trust Gary Payton to be able to make the short roll reads out of those sequences. There were just so many examples of like him just finding these really smart ways to catch Houston's defense before they were really loaded up in a way to stop him. And like that was, I just thought it was he literally took it personally, what happened a couple weeks ago, and said, I'm going to prove I can score on these guys, and I can score on these guys easily. And I just thought his approach the entire game was really, really smart.
Was it C.J. Stroud's fault or was it Tillman Fertitta? Because they kept saying C.J. Stroud, but I believe Tillman Fertitta was sitting right in front of him. So I kind of feel like Tillman Fertitta was the one who was doing all the talking.
Yeah, and then they cut to a CJ finally, and he kind of had a little bit of an expression on his face, like the conversation was a little more intense than I realized. I was like, oh, they might have actually been going at it a little bit here.
Wait, how does Tillman Fertitta not give up the seat to CJ Stroud? Like, I mean, come on.
That's.
I know he's the owner, but like, he's CJ Stroud.
Shut up in business from the author.
You can
sit
in my second row. Come on, right behind me, right over the.
At least tell your guests to sit in the back, right? Like, CJ, you can sit next to me, right?
Yeah,
your homeboy can sit behind us.
I think Steph Curry's ability to finish is his most underrated skill, and we've talked about it with Brandon Payne on this show. Is just he's not just a shooter, and I think almost like the whole label of Stephen Curry's the greatest shooter ever almost is a backhanded compliment, because it suggests that like that's just his skill. He's a specialist. But when you watch him against the Houston Rockets, he's 7 of 10 on twos. He was 100% in the paint. Like, the guy is an elite finisher where like Steven Adams, Jabari Smith, Şengün, they can like collapse and slap both sides of the backboard and he's still going to be able to finish. And I just like, I don't know, man. The fact that he's still doing this at this age, you're right. It was a masterclass.
Tom, it's one of my favorite like stats of all time. Is that the unanimous MVP season that Steph had? Yeah, he also led the league in steals. Like, no one that's been disintegrated somewhere. Everyone's like, oh yeah, he shot 50, 40, 90 average. He led the league in scoring. No one remembers, oh yeah, he also led the league in steals that year. And it's like everyone's focused on the shooting, like you said.
He had 3 really great defensive possessions early in the game when they tried to attack him directly. It was one with Jalen Green where he just got super physical with him right away, and Jalen immediately lost his composure and just started trying to dribble at him. And Steph actually has a surprisingly strong frame. I think that's an underrated aspect when he's playing physical defense. You got to stop against Şengün in a switch where he just got up underneath him and disrupted his base. They tried to post Dylan Brooks on him on the right block, and Steph fought for position and forced him to catch out like 22 feet away. So he ended up just bailing and passing the ball out. He was battling, man. He was digging down off the ball. It was. I'm glad you brought up the finishing. He had 2 insane finishes last night. The one on Tari Eason, where he curled around with Dylan Brooks chasing him. He curled the screen, and Tari came flying over, and he just served it right up high off the glass. And then there was another play where he pushed in transition, engaged Steven Adams early in the possession. Really smart. It was like, if I push, someone's going to have to grab me based on transition defense principles. He pushed up, and Steven Adams grabbed him, and then he blew by Steven Adams. And both Şengün and Jabari Smith like sandwiched him at the rim, and he shot from below his hip on the right side of the basket. Like, he went down and just kind of flipped it up below his hip and just spun it in off the glass. It was just ridiculous, man. Like the one of the simple stat that I would say to demonstrate that it was one of his better playoff games, when you factor in the degree of difficulty, the way the defense was selling out on him, at one point he made 11 out of 12 shots. 11 out of 12. Yeah. And like at least 2/3 of those were like an 8 out of 10 difficulty or higher. Just preposterous shot making in a game where that was literally the difference. That was the difference in the game, was Steph brought shot making and really no one else did except for Jimmy a little bit, you know?
If you had to pick one shot that was the most preposterous of them all, which one would it be?
Oh man, I'm going to go with the step back over Dylan Brooks. He got decent separation on the 2 others that he hit on Amen Thompson. Like the 30-footer, he stuck that in right off the back of the rim. Like, you just could tell right as it came off his hands that he just got great lift, and it was just like a easy release for him. But the one on Dylan Brooks, it was late in the clock, and Dylan got really physical with him. And he hit him with like a hesitation, step back. And then finally on the last one, he barely got enough separation and just shot a moon ball over the top of him that went in. That was a ridiculous shot.
You said you played hoops. Was it you played D1 hoops, or what did you play in college?
NAIA. I played JUCO. I was a journeyman. I didn't even play in college until my third year. I was like a terrible high school basketball player. And then I just kind of clawed my way up through the JUCO ranks, and I ended up playing 1 year of NAIA before I ran out of eligibility.
Do people, when they see you in like media circles, I don't know how often you get into like, I don't know, go to games and meet other media members. Are they always surprised at how tall you are, or like that you like played hoops, or is it because you can't really tell on YouTube that you used to play? Yeah. And that's one of the Maze. Do you know Maze right now? You're looking at Maze. Do you know how tall Maze is?
How tall are you, Maze?
6'6".
Yeah. See, this is what I'm saying. Yeah. I wouldn't have known. I would have guessed like 6'1", 6'2", something around those lines.
5'4".
I was wondering which direction you were going here. I was like, are they about to like just go at Maze here for some reason?
Yep. Unpredictable.
In Vegas is usually where I end up running into everybody. So that's been the major like kind of like offsite event we've been doing with Hoops Tonight, and I'm sure we'll be out there again this year. But I'm 6'6" and I weigh 225 pounds, so I'm pretty big compared to most people that you meet, but I'm not like exceptionally tall. Like it's not like if Chandler Parsons walked into a room or something, you're like, oh my God, clear, NBA level athlete. Like I was big, but not in any sort of like exceptional, like, eye-catching kind of way, if that makes sense.
Do you think Steph Curry is more admired by former Hoopers than he is by just like people who don't follow the NBA, just watching like, oh my God, he hit that shot from like 30 feet away off balance. That's crazy. But like, I feel like junkies or people who played basketball, like seriously appreciate how good this dude is. Like you mentioned how strong he is. KK Lyles, who was the strength coach and one of the top performance directors for the Golden State Warriors during the finals, pulls me aside. He's like, dude, do you realize how strong Steph is? Like he has the strongest deadlift on the team. Like he, trap bar pulling up like this, like he has the strongest hips on the squad. And people don't realize this, like how much skill and strength it takes for him to perform at that level.
When I was 10 years ago and I was like fresh out of college, I was a really late bloomer. I didn't get into basketball until really late. And so I didn't know a ton about the game around that time. I've learned so much about the game in the decade since as I fell in love with basketball and it just was more of like an adult life endeavor. So when Steph was playing in 2014, 2015, I just hated him because I was a LeBron fan, right?
Oh, man.
And so it wasn't until over the years as I became a better basketball player, as I learned more about the game, that I grew to have an immense appreciation for what he does. And now at this point I do. And like, I think back to like little things like when he said that between 2015 and 2016, he credited the leap in his scoring to a lower body regimen that summer. And I find that to be really fascinating because the way I play the game is very much movement shooter, off the dribble shooter. And easily the most important element to whether or not I can get my game off is if I have my base. Like if I'm in good shape and I've been working out and my legs are strong, I feel like I can just get to wherever I want to on the floor and lift. Once I get lift and once I get straight up and down, the flip of the wrist is just natural for me because I've been working on it for my entire life, right? But like it's A to B getting to the spot where you take the shot that is all about footwork and leg strength. And I thought that was super fascinating because that was a substantial increase in his scoring volume. He went from 24 points a game, 23, 24 points a game as an MVP, and then substantially increased his scoring, not because of the way the roster changed. It was the same roster. It was the same group of guys. He just leveraged his leg strength to get open more and added this insane volume scoring element to what was already such a strong foundation in just his movement and everything he could do to create offense for that team. And I just thought that was super fascinating. I gave a bunch of examples earlier, but the intelligent way that he goes about scoring. I've said this before. I actually think Steph has been better in this era, mainly in that 2022, 2021 era than even he was in 2016, because you can accredit a lot of his success back then to defensive schemes just having no idea how to handle him. And now we're in this phase where it's like the book's been out on how to guard the Warriors forever. Top lock him, be physical as hell, play off all their shooters and sit in the paint, funnel him in back cuts into your size. It's been out for years. And Steph has just been finding a way to solve that puzzle over and over and over again.
You just said it. I mean, we talked about earlier how one of the buzzwords in the past was drop coverage. Mm-hmm. I was thinking another buzzword is top blocking.
Top
blocking was a big.
So Jason, every year there's a term that dominates all the chatter. Every series seems to be every analysis. A couple years ago was drop coverage. Last year was it last year? 2 years ago was top blocking, and then this year's physicality. Every single series, someone's talking about physicality. And what's that?
Every game is about physicality, and in ways that go to TomTheFinder.com and see how the fouls are down more this postseason than they've ever been, even through one game of each series. It is lower than we've ever seen. Physicality is way up, and it's being rewarded. And against Steph Curry, you'd think that a guy who's 6'3", and in real people terms, that's like enormous, but like, you'd think just be physical with him. And this is where I differ from Strauss. Strauss thinks that, like, if you allow more hand checking up at the top, you're going to be able to reduce 3-point shooting. I just think Steph and those guys are too good off the ball that I don't think it matters. I think they're too quick. I think their handles are too good. You can't stay with them. Like, you can't.
I think it changes a little bit. Like, just not for him. Like Jason said, for him, he solved that equation so many times that even if you added a new wrinkle like that, within time, I think he would find a way. But I think across the vast majority, I think most guys are going to be bothered by the impeding of progress, both on ball and then also off ball, right? Because if you can hand check, that's the thing that people don't talk about. It's really the off ball hand checking. It's the grabbing, it's the holding, it's the clipping by the bigs on all, like every screen you run around, you're going to get hit by someone else. And I think that's the stuff that kind of throws guys off balance. But for Steph, I guess that's the other thing. We'll go back to what we're talking about. He's so much stronger than people understand, right? And it's that core strength and that lower body strength that allows him to overcome that physicality and get to those spots and make those shots and be able to make those shots despite having to contort at times. He had one Sunday night where it was a side out of bounds. They inbounded to Pajemski, and he like runs, curls, turns, and fires. And it was literally, they say logo 3. It was literally from the Toyota Center logo. And man, I wish I had the technology to just run the timer. What was the amount of time that ball was in his hands? Had to be less than half a second. Had to about 0.4 of a second. Not because he had to, but just because he can. And I think that's the shit for me is when I see him do these things, a lot of times I'm like, oh, he didn't have to do that. He did it because I can do it. And you talk about, Jason, the desire to prove that, hey, that 3-point game a couple weeks ago wasn't shit. Like, it was that. It was let me show them something else. Let me do this one. Let me shoot from right here. Let me shoot it like this. Let me shoot it when he's on top of me like this. Let me play with them like this. Not because this is the only way I can score, but because I want to.
They find a way to weaponize that off-ball dynamic to their benefit. And this is where, Tom, like, I do agree with the larger point you're making, which is like, Steph's getting grabbed and held all over the place. And so there's two ways to handle that. You can succumb to it, or you can play that game and just play it better than they do. Mm-hmm. And so what Steph has done is, like, Steph has become in incredible cardio shape, so he can hold up under that physicality over the course of games. He's added the physical strength to his upper body that was already there with his lower body. But even beyond that, there's technique stuff, the way he sets guys up for screens. He will shove off. It's like, okay, if the ref's going to let him grab and hold me, he's probably going to let me be physical with him too. So let me play this game too. And then the Warriors screening game. The Warriors screening game is probably the best in the NBA. And it's because they know that, like, they are super physical with Steph off the ball. We're going to be physical back, and we're actually just going to win that battle. It's actually crazy how often the Warriors have been underrated as just like a scrap team overall. Like, even last night, you look at what happened down the stretch. Houston's offensive rebounding was a huge factor. They had 22 of them in the game. But who was the team that was dominating the glass down the stretch? It was literally Pajemski and Draymond and Jimmy getting in there over and over and over again. They can scrap. And so I think I've seen a lot of Warriors fans complain about that physicality. I bet you if you ask the Warriors, they'd say they're happy with the arrangement. They'll politic for foul calls like every team does. But behind the scenes, they're like, like, yeah, let's play this way. We're better at this than you guys, and we're going to show you how we do it. And that's what they do.
Jason, it's time to mention he who must not be named, the Warriors exiled one, Jonathan Kaminga, who a lot of people look around and say, where's Jonathan Kaminga? Is he injured? I thought he was a top 10 pick on this team, and he's more or less been benched. Where do you stand on the Kuminga situation? Do you think the Warriors will need him to get out of this round and make a run towards another championship?
I support Steve Kerr's decision to, at this point, with the way things have gone, to not have played him yet. If they end up down 12, 13 points in the second quarter, call it 37-24 with 8 minutes left in the second quarter, I think you got to pull him out of the deck and give him a shot, because his athleticism can at least be a factor on the glass, just as a transition athlete getting back, as a guy that could potentially do some advantage creation if you get him into a favorable matchup. But like, Steve Kerr has always had a pulse for this sort of thing. You know, when Jimmy Butler came into town, he alleviated that scoring forward role. And even in that late portion of the season, when he wasn't bringing the volume scoring, he was doing enough to make it all work. Now Jimmy's bringing volume scoring. He's getting buckets just about every night too. But like, now that Jimmy's bringing that scoring forward piece, the actual specific things they need from Jonathan Kuminga happen to be all the things he's not very great at right now. And so when it comes to his upside, which is the things he can do as a scoring forward, he's super inconsistent and volatile. So like, I totally think it's reasonable for Steve Kerr to be like, he's a break glass in case of emergency. Like, let's throw, J.R. Smith in here and see if he can get hot and hit 4 threes. It's that kind of thing. But if he's not there, you pull him. Like, I think he'll get burned in a game this series when the Warriors fall down big early.
I want to go back to LeBron. So tell me about your LeBron journey and why you were so fascinated with LeBron. And then now you're like, are you in what?
Yeah, Tom, that's a great question. Why would you be so fascinated with LeBron of all people? I mean, he's like an okay basketball player.
I just want to know, we've heard Waz's story and like his evolution of the LeBron story. I just wanted to hear, Jason, what was it? Are you from Ohio, or are you a West Coast guy? Like where did you come to be a huge LeBron fan? Where were you
exposed to LeBron James? Like how? It must have been some local phenomenon,
why is this such a bad question?
Right?
Okay, true story. I grew up in a family that was all football and baseball, and like both my brothers played college football. My little brother played at West Point. It was team captain there for a couple of years. I'm very proud of what he accomplished there. And for me, like, I got exposed to basketball by accident. I literally walked in the living room, happened to be playing. I think it was 2006. It was Game 7 of the Pistons Cavs series, the one that the Pistons actually won. And during the game, they were just obviously singing the praises of the way LeBron had dragged the team to that point. LeBron laid an absolute stinker in that game, if you guys remember, and the Pistons ended up winning. But then I went into the 2007 season and just followed the game very closely. And just that was what got me to fall in love with basketball. So like, I went from being in a family that like didn't really expose me to a ton of basketball to like suddenly it being the thing that has literally changed my entire life. And so there's always like an emotional kind of like attachment to me, the younger fan, the 15, 16-year-old kid that fell in love with basketball because of LeBron James. And then from there, it honestly just stems from the success. Like, I've seen a lot of Steph fans trying to push the narrative that he was better than LeBron James. I don't hate the effort at all. I get it. You want to know why Steph fans feel that way? Because he's come through for them over and over and over again. You want to know why I feel the way I feel about LeBron? Because he's come through for me over and over and over again. Whenever I'm rooting for him in a big game, I just feel confident that he's going to be great and that he's going to do everything he can to help his team. And over decades, literally, rooting for him, there was just so much success and so much of that. And so that it's been interesting at this phase of my life now that I work in this field. Like, I have this one tiny attachment to the emotional young fan, because all the other players I watched growing up are out of the league now. So it's like, at this point, it's like LeBron is like that one last attachment I have to that younger fan me. And then when LeBron retires, then I'll go to just be like, the true, honest, unbiased.
This is a great story. Like, this is why I asked the question, is because LeBron made him fall in love with the game. Like, LeBron's the guy. He didn't even like basketball.
Basketball's been very good to me, man. It's been very good to me. I'm very, very fortunate, and I literally wouldn't have fallen in love with the game if it wasn't for him when I was a teenager. So there you go.
The TV could have been on any other channel. It might have been the American Idol. Jason would have been singing now.
Dude, it's even random that all my brothers are like 6'1" or shorter, and I'm 6'6". Like, it's just super random. Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Freak gene. Milkman.
Wait, they try to keep you away from basketball because they knew that was the one sport that you'd be able to take them.
I remember when I came to my parents and I was like, hey, I got a scholarship to play at this junior college. And they're like, what? Because it was like they had no idea. Like, I was like secretly becoming a good basketball player behind the scenes and they didn't even realize.
Like, scholarship for what?
Oh, man.
So we did this episode, it was a couple weeks ago on here, about how Draymond figured out the edge that he was going to get on Defensive Player of the Year was that he has a podcast, and he's going to go out and blast that he is the candidate, 100% case that he is the Defensive Player of the Year. And right after he said that, after the Giannis game, his like sportsbook odds and his polymarket odds just skyrocketed after he declared that. And I was like, oh, this is all just like him talking. And then I think you came out with a video that was like, Draymond's the guy. Draymond's the Defensive Player of the Year for you.
Good teammate, Jason.
And I was like, wait, Jason's like one of the smartest guys I know on basketball. So it isn't just about the talk. Draymond can walk. He's got the whole case. If Jason says it.
I tend to think that the size and strength element is more disruptive on defense than length and speed, even to a certain extent. So part of it is like personal preference. Like, I find Lou Dort to be a much better perimeter defender than Jaden McDaniels, for example. I believe that, and it's just because of like my personal experience with the game. I always find the big, strong athletes that bother you down low to be way more disruptive than the skinny athlete where I can just get my shoulder inside position and I'm bumping you off and I'm getting to wherever I want to on the floor. So part of it is that.
It goes back to LeBron beating up Tayshaun Prince.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. So then
or how Ben Wallace destroyed Zydrunas Ilgauskas. Either way.
Yeah. Well, I think Lou Dort last year in the semis versus Luka is a great example. It's like the only guy I've seen in a playoff series literally make Luka like complain to the refs nonstop and be completely like out of sorts. Like that, it's just the strength element. And then the second piece of it is, first of all, the Warriors were literally the number one defense in the league post trade deadline. They were top 10 in the NBA for the entire stretch before that. If you look at that team, they're dreadfully undersized, and Draymond just playing way bigger than he is makes up for 90% of that. The Warriors give up the second fewest unguarded catch and shoot jump shots in the league per synergy. And a big part of that is Draymond has this unbelievable ability to have a foot in the paint and still get great contests on weak side closeouts. It was like a huge part of the Lakers win, him preying on Rui Hachimura being hesitant, shooting against the closeout. Dating all the way back to that Celtics series in 2022, I'm like, he's making these insane 5-out spacing. Everyone's in a spot where they can shoot, and he's just getting guys off the line. Like, he is just a unbelievably versatile and destructive weapon. And I watched Evan Mobley this year. I'm a huge believer in what he does. Draymond, to me, is the most impactful defender in basketball because of his combination of the IQ piece, the strength piece on the ground, but also the ability to cover ground in rotation.
Then the ability to impose his will defensively. I think that and then also the ability to make other people better defensively by virtue of his communication. He talks constantly. And one of the plays that I'll never forget was, I want to say it was against the Blazers in 2019, where they had, Dame had the ball up top as after timeout. It was an end of game situation. And Iguodala decides to jump him. He audibled the jump. And then once that happened, Draymond, who was, I can't remember who the big was, he was on the inside of him. As soon as he sees Andre go, he goes to the outside of him and wraps his arm around this way. And so when the ball eventually finds its way to the corner, he closes out and gets the fingertip on it, boxes out, game over. And I'm like, that whole thing was because he saw this and took it's the subtlest of things. And 9 out of 10 NBA players would not have moved because I'm not going to give up inside position to my man who's the big right at the rim. But Draymond's like, I'm going to put my arm around him this way and then step on the outside of him because he knows if the ball goes that way and I'm on the inside position, I get screened, and that's a wide open shot. And I think that he's the guy more than anybody I see where you can actually see him do the math of all the shit going on defensively. And the whole time, yapping, which is, I mean, like, that's the one thing I don't know. From pros all the way down to I have a 14-year-old. I don't know why players don't like to talk. They just don't like talking. I don't know if they feel like it's corny or whatever, but the ability to talk like a middle linebacker, like football players all talk the whole time. But basketball, for whatever reason, guys don't want to talk. And I think that's one of the advantages that Draymond brings is that he's just a talker.
This is a huge part of why it's impossible to flip the switch in the postseason if you don't do the work in the regular season. That communication connection with your team is like intricately laid out over the course of the season. He had that defensive anticipation piece. He had 2 plays like that in the fourth quarter yesterday. It was a play where Steven Adams tried to hit a back cut, and Draymond just was like, Steven Adams, like, you're not going to shoot out here. So he just dropped off of it and ended up getting the cut. And then there was a high-low action where he was guarding Şengün up around the elbow. And I think it was Tari Eason had an inside seal on Steph with no backside help. So, like, if Şengün could have gotten the pass over the top, it would have been an easy bucket. But Draymond literally just just dropped off of Şengün and ended up just jumping up and high pointing the ball and getting the steal. Like, half of the damage he does is literally just being a step of the play mentally. A step ahead of the play, I should say.
And I think defensively, I'm not too worried about the Rockets figuring out some stuff, and I wouldn't be surprised in game 2 if there's a couple altercations right off the bat with Dillon Brooks and just trying to get some sort of edge. And I don't know if Draymond's going to take the bait. It's the other side that bothers me is the Houston Rockets had a 65 offensive rating in the half court, 65 in game 1. Couldn't score in the half court. So
is that bad? Jason,
you're coaching Ime Udoka. Yeah, it's Wizards. It's Wizards with 4 guys on the floor. Bad. Okay. It's not good. So Jason, you're coaching, you're Ime Udoka. Like, what do you do against Draymond, who is the best defender on the planet, to score in the half court?
There were a couple of specific things that actually worked reasonably well that they could go back to. They had some success with cleared side ball screens with Jalen Green and Alperen Şengün early in the game. You guys remember the dunk, but there was another one where he tried to go inside hand and Draymond blocked him off the glass, but the shot carried right back off to Şengün. He got an offensive rebound putback. What I like about those cleared side ball screens is they simplify Jalen's reads. The corner is not occupied, so he doesn't have to worry about a defender behind him. He can literally just hit the jets and make a simple read, which is either Draymond's there and I take the layup, or obviously hit Şengün in the pocket, or if the entire team sinks over, all of his kick out reads are on one side of the floor. So there's some stuff that can go to there. They didn't really go back to that after that first quarter stretch. Jabari Smith Jr. had a right shoulder fade that he hit over Steph. Now, let's be clear. The reason why I'm bringing these up, 0.65 points per possession in the half court is outrageously bad. Like, you've got to find something that works. And so they need to find some pet actions they could go to. The anything pick and pop or pick and roll with Fred VanVleet and Şengün worked pretty well. Like I mentioned earlier, Jabari Smith Jr. hit a right shoulder fade over Steph Curry. They never went back to that. Jabari Smith in the regular season got about 1.25 points per post up. Relatively low volume. He only did 49 of them in the season, but that's enough volume to where, like, you can throw him the ball a little bit and see, because here all you got to beat is 0.65 points per possession. It's like, doesn't have to be better than anything like that. Anything with Şengün in the middle of the floor I thought worked relatively well. Some of the Amen Thompson ISOs I thought were more interesting. I'd probe that a little bit more early in the game. He actually just gets such great lift in the short range, and he's got decent touch in the short range on some of those like fadeaways that he takes. But then on the other end of the floor, it's just continue the game plan. Like, if you really dig into it, Steph had just a preposterous shot making game, and Jimmy Butler hit 6 jump shots. I think he hit 5 mid-range jump shots, and he hit a 3 over Amen Thompson on the right wing. So, like, there's a version of this where Steph goes 8 for 22 and Jimmy Butler doesn't hit his jump shots, and you get more out of Fred VanVleet, you get more out of Jalen Green, more out of some of those actions we talked about, and they get some wins. I think the defensive game plan was fine. It just was simply that the on the other end of the floor, they couldn't get anything going. One last thing I'll say, they ran 4 possessions of zone and they only scored once. And it was a Draymond Green floater where Fred was out at the top of the key. And Fred was like, literally like, do whatever you want, Draymond. And Draymond was like, fine. And so he just went down the lane and shot a little floater. But they missed the other 3. And the defense actually did pretty well in those possessions. So I think we will see considerably more Houston Rockets zone in game 2 as well.
How do the Warriors stop them from assaulting them on the offensive glass? That was assault. There were charges.
So part of it is like they haven't been super efficient on them. Like they got 22-second possessions last night, but they only got 22 points. For example, the Warriors got 6 additional possessions, but they got 12 second chance points. So part of it is like that's what the Warriors or the Rockets do, is they just miss shots and get their own rebounds a bunch in some of those
63
groups.
first chance points.
Yeah, like there's a certain amount of that. But like I would say if you're getting crushed on the glass, consider using a little bit more Kaminga. You did hear Steve Kerr in one of the timeouts talk about how they don't need to be leaking out in transition at all, because they don't need the transition game because Houston cannot score on them in the half court. If they can just keep them in the half court. Steve Kerr literally said that on TV for the world to see. He's like, these guys can't score on us. We just got to take care of the ball. So like, yeah, I think it's selling out for the defensive glass, potentially probing Kuminga a little bit, but also understanding that you can lose that battle but win the war with Houston as long as you take care of those other factors.
Jason, our illumination, as we call them, the audience here, I think we can do this. I think we can get you across the 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. I think you're at 99,800 right now. So I think if we just tell everybody right now to go to
We're jumping on the bandwagon and giving you that last little push.
Yeah, and then we take credit for all 100,000.
All 100,000.
Well, I would sincerely appreciate that. I gotta find a way to not celebrate this until tomorrow, because today's about Carly. That's the only thing. I do think it's gonna end up happening here in the next hour, because it can't be Jason hit 100K day. It's got to be Carly's birthday. But I gotta say, man, I'm just like, we launched the channel 18 months ago, and I literally can't believe it. And I'm just so incredibly like thankful and blown away, and I feel like I'm living in like an alternate reality. It's absolutely crazy, but it's been crazy to see the channel grow. And honestly, this was a fun pod. I enjoyed coming on. You guys are gonna have to have me on again sometime.
Well, it's fun to see the audience growth on your YouTube, but more importantly, it's more fun to see your hair growth. I mean, that is really the thing. Are you gonna save a spot on that shelf back there for your plaque? Like, you've got to have some YouTube sort plaque. Of. Is there something that's going to
move some things around?
Can you show us like what is going to get the boot? Like, is there anything on there that you're like, you know what? It's a replacement level.
Is that
I don't know, probably the whiskey. I don't drink as much these days as I used to. It's probably the whiskey. And the Star Wars, can't take out the Star Wars. I have an aviation thing that I go through from time to time. I'm weirdly into dinosaurs, so I can't really knock any of that other stuff off.
Look at the memes backdrop.
This is my pride and joy. A custom commissioned artwork.
That is incredible. I mean, I've known for a while that you're a Star Wars fan. I've always thought it'd be fun to chop it up sometime. I am very much in the weeds of it. I love it so much. I'm a little annoyed that Ryan Gosling is just getting a Starfighter movie instead of something a little bit more involved.
I'm telling you right now, I have zero confidence this is going to even turn into anything. They've done this now for like 5 years, and you're going to get a Star. You get a whole trilogy. Why not? Like, let's see.
They love a headline.
Yeah. Whatever. Patty Jenkins.
They marched him out there, though.
Yeah, Patty Jenkins.
They marched him out there. That was a victory lap.
They marched Patty Jenkins out for Squadrons as well. We're still waiting on that one.
Yeah, it's like it's literally like watching Kathleen Kennedy and Ryan Gosling's like watching Jeannie Buss after bringing in Luka Doncic. It's just like it's like the taking of the credit, and it's just I almost feel like something weird happened there anyway.
Except imagine if Jeannie Buss knew she was selling the team at the end of the year. Like I don't give a shit.
Exactly.
Like, whatever. Yeah, here's Ryan Gosling. Have fun with him.
Oh man!
All right, that is Jason Timpf. I just checked out during that whole segment about Star Wars because I've never watched Star Wars. So sorry, Jason. I apologize.
It's okay. My wife does the same thing.
Yeah. Well, happy birthday to Carly, and thanks for letting us borrow you for this segment here. What would you like to plug? Obviously, the YouTube feed.
Yeah, we're just going to be live after the games every night throughout the playoffs. So just go to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel. And yeah, man, it was great to chat with you guys. And I'm looking forward to next time.